My name is Cassidy and you're watching That Spooky Lifestyle, where we bring the ooky, the spooky, the creepy and the crawly into our everyday lives. Today I'm super excited. We're going to be talking about insane things that happened in 1993. Now, as many of you probably don't know, I was born in 1993, so I'm 26 years old, and I thought this series would be fun as kind of like a birthday series. So I'm going to go through different years of different people's birthdays and kind of talk about the crazy-ish that happened during that year. While I talk about it, I'm also going to get ready for the day just so I have something to do, and yeah, let's hop right into it, guys. On January 5th, 1993, a $7 million armed car robbery happened, and it remains unsolved to this day. So we are going to talk about this a little bit and get some of the juicy details. This heist was literally made for Hollywood. It included a cop, a priest, and a former soldier from the Irish Republican Army, or IRA, as I will be referring to it for the rest of the video. Like I said, $7 million was stolen during this robbery, and a really large portion of it still remains missing. So to start the story off, we're going to be talking about Sam Miller. So Sam Miller, to anyone who knew him, he was a quiet guy, kept to himself, he was married, he had 3 kids, and he drove, like, I think it was a minivan? Yeah, he drove an old minivan, and he worked at a comic book store. So he seemed like your everyday guy, nothing too suspicious or out of ordinary there. However, in November of 1993, his apartment building was stormed with federal agents coming to arrest Sam Miller. And everyone in the building, you know, was like, whoa, what the hell is going on? And then this, like, everyday normal dude just gets arrested. So it was really the talk of the town. So quiet old Mr. Miller may have had a secret or two. He did seem, you know, very normal, everyday, calm on the surface, but he's actually the former IRA rebel, so the Irish Republican rebel, and he actually served 8 years in one of the most notorious prisons in Ireland. Yeah, Long Kesh. I've never heard of it, but that doesn't really mean anything. I don't keep up with prison propaganda. Is that the word I'm looking for? No. Prison, I don't know, news, I guess. I don't keep up with that, so that doesn't mean much. So Mr. Miller was not the only person to get arrested in this case. Like I said, there was a cop, a priest, and an IRA soldier. We already got the soldier, we're moving on to the priest. There was an Irish priest by the name of Father Maloney. I think that's how you pronounce it. It probably isn't, but doing the best I can with what I have. Father Maloney was actually arrested previous to this in 1980 for allegedly smuggling guns to the IRA. He also allegedly had a number of safe houses in the Rochester area, New York. That's where this is placed. I don't think I said that yet. So yeah, he supposedly also had safe houses all over Rochester that he said he used for illegal immigrants. But some people also believe that it's for, like, IRA gun smuggling stuff, you know? Father Maloney was quite a popular priest in his area, and when he got arrested, he obviously pleaded innocence. And so when this happened, the judge posted his bail at $1 million, basically thinking, like, this is so high, a priest will never be able to raise this. And he told Father Maloney that. Yeah, the judge basically told Father Maloney that, like, it would take a miracle for him to raise that amount of money. And Father Maloney replied to the judge being like, but judge, I'm in the business of making miracles. And because he was so popular, he managed to raise that $1 million in just a couple of days. That's such a badass line, though. You know what I mean? Like, that is actually from a movie. I'm in the business of making miracles. Like, okay, okay. So now we're going to talk about the third accomplice, which is Thomas O'Connor. The armored car that got robbed was a Brinks armored car. That was the company. And Thomas O'Connor worked for Brinks. He was actually a retired police officer, but he kind of had like a shady past, and he also supported the IRA, allegedly, you know. One theory that has been floating around for the bank heist is that the money was stolen to support the IRA in, you know, their plans. However, this has never been proven because of the lack of evidence. The judge restricted the prosecutors from linking it to any IRA. I know what you're thinking, Cassidy, why aren't you talking about the robbery? Like, what happened? People actually, to this day, still don't know what exactly happened, and we're going to talk about that a bit more. But before we do, we need to go back to the beginning, or it makes me think of, like, Lion King 1.5, to before the beginning. Before the armed robbery, Sam Miller, the first guy, the former IRA soldier, he was living a bit of a double life. Now, this is before he had his comic book store, before the robbery, all of that. So before all that went down, he was living a bit of a double life. During the day, he would work as a doorman in the upper Manhattan area, which is supposed to be like a fancy, schmancy place. And then at night, he would work at the casinos. I mean, some people speculate that being around all that fast cash, like, gave him the idea and all of this, but I know tons of people who go to casinos and don't rob banks, so I don't really think that that holds much weight, if we're being honest. Well, Sam Miller actually wrote a memoir, but in this memoir, he really, like, vaguely glances over the robbery and doesn't give a lot of detail or reasoning as to why he did it. This is looking, like, really off color on camera, but I swear it's not that orange in real life. So Mr. Miller basically states in his memoirs that him and his accomplices basically walked into the bank depot and with armed guns, tied up the guards, took the money, and bounced. And now the guard on duty was Thomas O'Connor, and Sam Miller says no, he had nothing to do with this. Even though they both had met each other previously, Sam Miller says, like, oh, he didn't know it was me because I was wearing a mask. The funny thing is that Thomas O'Connor, the cop, actually brought suspicion to himself because he had inconsistent stories about the robbery, and then after a while he just stopped working with the police altogether, like stopped giving them any information. So police were like, well, if you didn't do it or you weren't a part of it, why the sudden change? Authorities caught wind of Sam Miller because he was kind of being a show-off. Once they stole the money, he was flashing his cash around his neighborhood with, like, buying a new vehicle. He opened up this comic book store, you know, just really living his best life, honestly. So like I said, no one really knows how this robbery happened because there was just that, like, vague explanation in Sam Miller's memoirs. And a lot of people believe that he doesn't want to talk because he doesn't want to, like, point fingers at anyone else who was involved or supposedly involved. So in the end, Father Maloney served 5 years. Sam Miller served 4 years for possession of the cash, not the actual robbery. None of these guys got arrested and convicted because of the actual robbery. Like, they couldn't prove that it was them, but they could prove that that was they had the cash. And then Thomas O'Connor was acquitted. And to this day, out of the $7 million that was stolen, 5.2 million of it is still missing. So I mean, if they were using it to try and fund IRA, you know, ideas, I mean, it does kind of make sense if it's still missing. Just saying. So this robbery was the 5th biggest armed car robbery in the United States at the time. When I came across that story, I thought it was pretty crazy. I hope at some point we do find out what actually happened. It's just one of those things, I hate when a mystery stays unsolved. Moving on to our next story, in March of 1993 was the biggest snowstorm of the century. People have called this the Superstorm of '93, they've called it the No Name Storm, and they've also called it the Great Blizzard of '93. This was one of the biggest mid-level cyclones ever observed. At the height of this storm, it engulfed Canada, the US, and part of Honduras, Mexico, so it was very, very large, dumping 40 inches of snow in certain areas and causing record-breaking low temperatures in the east and south US. This snowstorm caused power outages for more than 10 million people, and throughout the whole thing, there were about 208 fatalities. Honestly, with a snowstorm that big though, like, how are there not? Especially with how intense it was, like, you just can't prepare for something like that. The storm was just as fast as it was furious because it only lasted about 3 days on land before it moved out to sea and kind of dissipated. But it did leave a lot of damage in its wake. I just can't imagine. That storm would have been so insane. Can you imagine like 40 inches of snow? Girl. Especially if it's a spot that doesn't normally get snow. Like, we've had some pretty intense snowstorms in Saskatchewan when I lived there that would dump a bunch of snow, but like, I don't know. When you're not used to it and it just kind of happens, it's like, whoa. Moving on to our third and final story of the evening. On June 9th, 1993, premiered none other than Jurassic Park. The first movie, this is the first movie of the franchise, and it definitely left a big impression. This movie grossed over $914 million worldwide and was the highest grossing movie until a little film called The Titanic beat it in 1997, I think it was. This movie won more than 20 awards, 3 of them being Academy Awards for its technical achievements, visual effects, and sound design. This movie is actually still considered a landmark for computer-generated effects mixed with animatronics. Like, it was just done very well. And you can tell because you can still watch it today, and it's not like super cringy. You know how some of those older movies, it was just when CGI was starting and it looks so fake. Jurassic Park, you can still watch it today and it still holds up, which is crazy. This movie left such an impression that in 2018 it was selected for preservation by the United States National Film Registry. This requires a film to be aesthetically, culturally, or historically significant, and honestly, I think Jurassic Park falls under all of those. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Follow me on Instagram at thatspooky_lifestyle for more content. You want pixie hair videos or other spooky videos, I post on there. And let me know down below if there are any other years you would like me to do. Maybe list your birthday. I'd love to check some of those out. And yeah, give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in my next video, guys.